I think that is set up now. We're recording. Check, check. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Crystal sparkle clear.
Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Quick review of where we're at. We're studying operators and properties of operators. And for now, we're doing that in the situation where we're investing. Last week, we walked step by step through what happens when a stock goes up 10% and then down 10%. Anyone remember the name of the property that we studied?
Well, it feels like an inverse. Common sense says a 10% gain and a 10% loss should cancel each other out. But the real inverse isn't that. The inverse of a 10% gain is closer to a 9% loss, and the inverse of a 10% loss is closer to an 11% gain.
Exactly, Doug. It feels like they should cancel each other out because arithmetic trains you to think in additive properties. But we're not adding $10 and subtracting $10. We're multiplying by 10% and then multiplying by 10%. So we have to use the multiplicative version of averaging, not the additive version. Next question. If there's any investing move that has no inverse, like is there something that has no matching percentage on the other side?
Yes, a 100% loss. If your value becomes zero, no percentage gain can return you to the original. Zero multiplied by anything remains zero.
Yeah, right, Robert. And this is another way that we can see that we're dealing with multiplication. The inverse of multiplying by zero is not dividing by zero. There is no inverse of multiplying. Um, Likewise, a 100% loss has no inverse. For these systems, if there's only one thing that breaks that inverse rule, that means the entire property does not have inverse. All of the other things can have inverse. Doesn't matter how many things have inverse. All it takes is one thing to not have an inverse, and then the entire property doesn't have an inverse. So next question, let me change to a new whiteboard. Okay, now let's talk about the commutative property. On the board here last week, there, okay, last week we studied up 10% and then down 10%. Let's walk through that again. 10% of 100 is $10. Add. Okay, so after it goes up 10%, we now have 110%. When it goes down 10%, 10% of 110 is 11. $11. Subtract that. There. Okay, we end up with $99. What's going to happen if we do the opposite? We have here. Okay, instead of going up 10% and then down 10%, what happens when we go down 10% first and then up 10%? Anyone want to hazard a guess?
Well, last week we learned that gains and losses are multipliers, and multiplication is commutative. So if this whole thing is just multiplying, then the order shouldn't matter.
Okay, but last week you tricked us. And you only ask questions like this when the obvious answer is wrong. So I'm guessing this is another fake out. Like the real answer is neither commutative nor non-commutative, but something weird in the middle.
I'm torn. If you start with the 10% gain, you get a head start. If you start with the 10% loss, you're climbing out of a deeper hole. Intuitively, that feels like doing the gain first should lead to a bigger result. Like maybe it will still be a loss, but not as big of a loss.
Okay, we have a lot of variety of opinions here. So let's see who's right. We'll add to here. 10 brings us to 90. Okay, and now a 10% loss of that is 9. So in the end, it's 99 bucks, exactly the same as when we did up and then down.
Oh, good. I was right.
Okay, now for the next thing, we need to go over the distributive rule. And yes, technically we could talk about an operation distributing over itself, but that gets really confusing really fast. It's much easier to understand distributive when we have two different operations. So let me introduce you to a new one, the portfolio operation. We don't have to pick between investing in up first and then down, or down first and then up. We could, we need better names than calling it up then down, down then up. Let's just call them stock A and stock B.
Oh, could we call them Alpha Aerospace and Beta Biotech?
Yeah, yes. Awesome idea, Poppy. Thank you. That'll make things much clearer. Here, Alpha Aerospace, Beta Biotech, and then together. So we invest in Alpha Aerospace. It goes up 10% and then down 10%. We invest in Beta Biotech. That goes down 10% and then up 10%. Or we can combine them together. We take that 100, split it into 50 bucks and 50 bucks. So Alpha Aerospace going up 10 and then down 10 would be 110 after going up. After going down, it's at 99. Beta Biotech goes down first and then up. There. Okay. Now recall what happens in A, recall what happens in B. What will happen together?
My prediction is that the outcomes will be identical. A loss combined with a loss is still a loss.
Okay, let's check. We take the 50 bucks from Alpha Aerospace. That goes up 10%. That's $5. Add 50 to 5, that would be 55. Beta Biotech would go down. 10% of 50 is 5. Subtract 5 from 50, that would be 45. So after the first transaction, it would be split 55 and 45. Now we do 10% down of 55. 10% of 55 is 4.5. We'll subtract that from the original 55. Then going up 10% is 4.5. We will add that 4.5 plus 45. So we have here. Okay, we have 49 and a half, 49 and a half. Put those together, it's 99 bucks again. Same as if you had invested only in Alpha Aerospace or only Beta Biotech. So here's the thing about portfolios. They don't stay 50-50. If Alpha Aerospace goes up and Beta Biotech goes down, suddenly you're not balanced anymore. Maybe you're 60-40 or 70-30. That's why investors do something called rebalancing. I'll show you here. We'll start at 50-50. This is what the portfolio looks like. If one goes up 10% and the other goes down 10%, that now becomes 55 and 45, which looks like this. And that's not what we want. We want an even split between the two. So now we'll do something called rebalancing. We'll take from that 55, remove $5, and then move that over to the 45. So here. Okay. So whatever just went up, we will sell off some of that, and whatever went down, we'll add more of that. Next step, after we do that, they're balanced again, 50-50, and this is what it looks like. Now that is what would happen if something goes up and we sell it off in order to rebalance.
Wait, that makes no sense. This feels backwards. If Alpha Aerospace just went up, doesn't that mean it's the good stock? It's doing what a stock is supposed to do. I don't think I should sell any of the good stock. If I were investing, I'd sell off the losers and get more of the winners. That's just common sense.
Yeah, everyone I watch on TikTok tells me about these awesome investments that are going up. They're like, don't miss out, get in now before it's too late. And I totally get that. If I just saw a stock go up, I'd want to buy more of it. That feels right.
Okay, I hear both of you. Your instinct is if something goes up, it must be good, get more. If something goes down, it must be bad, get rid of it. Let me tell you a different way to think about this. Instead of stocks, imagine you're stockpiling canned goods. Um, Investing is a lot closer to doomsday prepper than you would expect. At some point in the future, doomsday preppers will have to survive off the things that they have in storage. For your retirement account, someday in the future, you're going to have to depend on whatever you have in storage. So if we think about it this way, the value of the things that we already have isn't as important as what's coming in. Say we went to the store and there was a crop harvest or something or a recall, and the price of corn has suddenly skyrocketed through the roof. You would not think at that moment, I'm like, oh, good. All of that corn that I have in storage now, it's like a rare collectible. It's super valuable now. Where we're at the store, we're not thinking in terms of what's already in storage. Likewise, if the store is running a special this week, canned tomatoes, buy two, get one free. You would not go into a blind panic, rush back to your basement, grab up all of the canned tomatoes you have, run back to the store, and try and get your money back. No, if you see tomatoes on sale, you want more of them. And I'm like, oh, they're cheap now. I can pile up. So if you think about investing that way, if you have something that's expensive, you buy less. If you have something cheap, you buy more. That's exactly what rebalancing does. It treats your assets like canned goods. So you buy one that's on sale and you ignore the one that's overpriced. You might have heard the expression buy low, sell high. That is what rebalancing is basically doing.
I mean, I hear you, but honestly, I still want the winners, not the losers.
Uh, okay, that feeling is completely normal. There wouldn't be viral videos hyping hot new thing if people didn't feel exactly the same thing that you're fearing. But just let me finish the example. I think it might make sense. Um, anyway, after we do the sell and buy, we're back at 50-50. Now let's see what happens if we do this again and again. Rebalance at every step instead of rebalancing just at this one step. Close here. We will start with the 50-50. Okay. Alpha Aerospace goes up, Beta Biotech goes down. We're now at 55-45. We will do a rebalance by moving the $5 over. We're now at 50-50 again. Second step, Alpha Aerospace goes down, Beta Biotech goes up. We're now at 45-55. We do another rebalancing step, move $5 over this way, and we're back to 55. We're back to 50-50. Now stop for a moment and think about what happened here. If we did it without rebalancing, it would be losing money the exact same way that only Alpha Aerospace or an only Beta Biotech would be doing. But when we do that rebalancing, now we're not losing money more. We're breaking even at that 100. That's the magic of rebalancing function. It's not distributive. 100 into A and 100 into B is not the same as 100 into A and B. So here, there. So if we're splitting our money up, if we do it without rebalancing, 50 into A and 50 into B is not the same as 50 into A and B.
Oh, maybe that was the mistake. I was thinking that if I invest in A and B both, that is the same as investing into either A or B.
Well, it's not that simple. Even if you do invest into only one stock, it's still a bad idea to chase winners. But if it helps you, then yes. To put it in terms of the Boolean algebra we learned, if A is true and B is true, then A and B can be false.
I'm still not sure. Let me think on it overnight and maybe it'll click. Anyway, you can move on to the next part.
Thanks, Poppy. All right, class. Next topic, leverage. Leverage just means borrowing money so you can invest more than you actually have. Let me change to a new whiteboard. So we will start here, leverage. Let's start with $100. And let's say Noah gives me $100. Noah, no, it's only a classroom example. You're not actually giving me $100. This is just pretend, okay? Let's pretend that Noah gives me $100. Okay, Alan. Let's pretend Alan gives me $100. Alan, are you okay with, in theory, as a classroom example, pretending to give me $100?
Yeah, that's fine with us.
Great. So $100 from Alan into me gives $200. Now I invest into Alpha Aerospace. It goes up 10%. That 10% of 200 is 20. Add that in, 10%. That is 220. Now I have to repay Alan. So I take out the 100, give it back to Alan. That leaves me with 120. Now look what happened here. We started with 100. We went to 120. That is a 20% gain. But the stock only went up 10%. Yeah, that's what leverage does. Leverage is, it's a power, it multiplies whatever the gain is. It also does the same thing with loss. Let me show you here. 100, I borrow or pretend to borrow from Alan $100. That gives me 200. The stock goes down 10%. That will get 180. From that 180, I have to repay Alan. So I take the 100 out. That leaves me with 80. In this case, we went from $100 to $80. That is a 20% loss, even though the stock only went down 10%. All right, now that we understand leverage by itself, let's combine it with this new stock. We need a name for the new stock. Let's call it Gamma Green Energy for G. We have Alpha Aerospace and Gamma Green Energy. Now, remember how Alpha Aerospace zigzagged. Let's have the zigzag stock, but I don't want to use the 10% and 10% anymore. That will become clearer later on. I'm going to move this up to 12% up and 10% down. So up 12, down 10, up 12, down 10. Let's go here. Okay. Now, that's not exactly the inverse, but it's going to be enough above the inverse that will make profit. So 12% of 100, 120, 112, there. So after going up 12% and down 10%. We've just barely made a profit. We have made 0.8 bucks. Now, let's do leverage on gamma green energy. Okay. Whenever we're doing leverage, we double whatever happened before. 12% goes up to 24%, and a 10% loss goes to a 20% loss. In this situation, what do you think is going to happen?
Mathematically, if each part is multiplied by 2, the total should also be multiplied by 2.
Okay, very reasonable guess. Let's see what happens. 100% plus 24 is 124. 20% loss is 24.8, giving it 99.2.
Oh, wait, I think I see it. This is just another example of that distributive rule breaking again, right? 2 times 12% gain and 2 times 10% loss is not the same as 2 times 12% gain and 10% loss. So even though the unleveraged version barely makes money, the leveraged version might actually lose money.
You're seeing the pattern now, Doug. Leverage doubles the first percent and it doubles the second percent, but leverage may not double the first and second percent. Actually, let me write that down. 2 up and 2 down is not the same as 2 up and down. So you can see the distributive rule in effect here. Okay? This breaks the distributive rule. We've got one more to go. This is the final boss battle. We're going to look at zigzag stocks, leverage stocks, and balanced portfolio all at the same time. This one's a little bit more complex, so I have it in a workbook. Let me share my screen. There. Okay, here in column B, we have Alpha Aerospace. And you see that is going up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down. 100 goes to 112, 112 goes to 100.8, and then up and down from there. At the end, if we do this every day for 30 days, we will have 125 bucks. Gamma green energy is going the opposite direction. Whenever Alpha Aerospace goes up, gamma green energy goes down. Whenever Alpha Aerospace goes down, gamma green energy goes up. And all the percentages are doubled. Instead of 12% and 10%, it's 24% and 20%. That is here in column C. And you see at the end of 30 days, we do this every day for 30 days, we'll wind up at 70%. So E and F are the values for our combined portfolio. E and F. We'll split 50-50 into each. Okay? And then over here is the rebalance. After the transaction, we will move money out of the winners, sell high, buy low. And shows there. Now, it's important to note when we go to the next step here, like in column E, the value of Alpha Aerospace, whenever it's going down, we don't calculate that from the number directly above it. The number directly above it is before the rebalance. We need to do after rebalance and apply the percentage to that. So when we are applying the percentage, it's between here and here, and here and here. That's how we're calculating the percentage, not the one directly above it. When we put all of this together, we do this every day for 30 days, wait for our 2 stocks to go either up or down, rebalance accordingly, and then at the end of 30 days, the total portfolio is here, 139. Okay, Stop for a moment and let that sink in. Alpha aerospace went up to 125. Gamma green energy went down to 71. But the rebalanced portfolio is at 139. It's not the average of the total returns of both stocks. It is so much not the average, it's not even in between the two. It breaks out. It's another case of the distributive rule breaking.
Input conflict detected. If my portfolio contains only Alpha Aerospace, expected return is modest. If I include a bad stock, the combined portfolio should decrease in value. Good plus bad equals more bad. This rule is stable. Are you asserting that if I begin with a modest return portfolio and then integrate a losing asset, the total system becomes better instead of becoming worse?
Yes. Yes, that is exactly what I am claiming. But don't think about it as adding in a bad stock. Yes, bad has some influence on the returns, but what's more important is that these are wild swings. It's a big up and down. That's why this is called volatility harvesting. It is those huge up and down swings and us taking advantage of those swings by rebalancing. That has so much force to it that it counteracts anything that we would lose by it being a bad stock. Maybe it'll make more sense with the picture. Let's come to here. Okay. Here's Alpha Aerospace. And you see it is going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. But the long-term trend is upward. Gamma green energy, I will add in here, is going opposite. Down then up, down then up, down then up. And it's much more wild. The ups and downs are taller than Alpha Aerospace. That's the key part on why volatility harvesting works. If we put them together, Alpha Aerospace and Gamma Green Energy comes to here. Now, as you can see, the up and down swings, they've stabled out some, and we're taking advantage by that rebalancing effect that, it breaks the distributive rule in this way. I'm thinking, when I upload this after class, we're recording, I will upload this to the channel. Go there. I will put a link in the comments on where you can get this, where you can get this workbook. You can play around with the numbers, change the up and down percentage, maybe have them go up the same and down the same instead of opposite. Play around with this tool. You'll see what's going on. I will put that as a pinned comment in when I upload the video. That is it for today. Hope everyone has this sink in. Next week, we're going to
Wait, teacher, before we go, I have a question.
Yeah, Alan?
So today we saw rebalancing break the distributive rule, and leverage breaks the distributive rule. And the spreadsheet boss battle also broke the distributive rule. Is this like a thing? Does most stuff in the real world break the distributive rule? Or are these just special weirdos?
You know what? Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know what happens more in the real world, but I can tell you a lot of things break the distributive rule. Way more than your intuition would expect. And yeah, I'm glad you asked, because next week we're going to be studying more things that break the distributive rule. We're going to cover prisoner's dilemma, majority illusion, and Simpson's paradox. These are the social science cousins of everything we did today. But for today, that's all we have. Let this sink in, think through it, try to understand that the inverse property and the distributive property are not universal. There are things that it does not have. That is it for today. Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ending
Bye.
transmission.
Stay
Goodbye.
amazing.
Bye.
All right, see ya.